All right, welcome back to this week's edition of the Rock and Roll Ghost podcast. This week we're especially excited. We're talking with Spider-Man, the guys behind most of the entire trilogy. They're co-written the first one, but the second two, it's all them. Chris McKenna and Erik Sommers are here to promote Spider-Man No Way From Home, which is coming out Thursday night. Sorry, I thought today was Wednesday. Thursday night in theaters everywhere, in America at least. How are you guys doing today?
Hanging in there. we had the premiere last night, so I got voice fry from shouting at people who I'm sure loved hearing me shout at them at a loud club.
How did the premiere go?
It was fun. It was one of my favorite movie theaters of all time, the Village Theater in Westwood. I grew up near Westwood, so it was like my favorite theater growing up. And right now they're playing Licorice Pizza there in 70 millimeter. But not last night, they showed No Way Home in front of a great giant crowd, and people. It was fun to see people see this thing.
Yeah, I have special memories of that place too, slightly later in life. But when I first moved to Los Angeles, I lived near there in a little tiny studio apartment, and I used to walk up and see movies in those theaters. And so to have a movie that I wrote, have the premiere in one of those theaters was pretty special. And it was just nice to see a lot of people out. I mean, honestly, it was just nice to go out. We've all been so isolated. It was just nice to go out and see a bunch of people and have like a shared experience.
Yeah. How did this rate compared to the other premieres of the? Well, I guess you could say any of them, Spider-Man or the last Ant-Man movie, because you guys were on that as well.
It's tough because I really do think the whole world's gone through a pretty tough last couple of years, and during all of it we were trying to stay sane and also make this movie, and which had, because of COVID, had its challenges. So the fact that we to see it after all the whole world's been through, and the whole creative and production team, the fact that it actually existed, and here we are, and hopefully we're coming on the other side of this thing, and people are coming out, and tons of fans were lining the streets, and tons of people were there for the premiere, and to see, I just missed the movie theater. I missed movies so much. I miss theaters so much, and it's so fun to see it with a big group of people. There's nothing quite like it, and this movie has moments that you really, I think it's made for the best experience in a theater, and it's just great to experience it that way.
Yeah. Eric, how about you? How did this compare to the other premieres you've gone to?
I think it was definitely special just because it has been a long road, 2 years for everyone, and I felt like I could just feel a sense of relief from all of us that we're working on the movie, that that we actually got it done despite all these hardships, and that it came together. And I almost sort of sensed some relief from just people in the crowd out there too, just happy that maybe this is an indication of that we're heading back to normal, or just that it's something to grab onto and feel excited about, that reminds us of how things were in a slightly better time. And it was just, I felt like everyone was really excited to be out there. It was raining and it was kind of cold, but no one cared. Everyone was just like really excited to be there, and there was a lot of energy. And so it was great. It was really, really special.
Now, when did you begin in earnest on writing this one for No Way Home? What was the first step you made, and when did you take that first step?
It wasn't that long after Far From Home, honestly. It wasn't one of those things where they'd already like greenlit the sequel before Far From Home even came out or anything. They waited until after it came out, but it wasn't that long. With the caveat that at that point, Disney and Marvel, Disney and Sony had not made a deal yet.
Right.
And so we started early on conversations about about what this movie would be, but it was all very sort of wide open and blue sky thinking, because we really weren't sure, like, is this going to be with Marvel or is this not going to be with Marvel? What would either one look like? So, it was a while until that deal was made, which they did pretty quickly. And then the conversations really started in earnest.
Yeah.
I'd say August or September of 2019.
Yeah. So I remember that was a kind of a rather weird time. It was like a month-long period where it didn't seem like the next one was going to be with Marvel, as a co-production kind of thing. And then, so I mean, I gather you didn't have much figured out with or without beforehand, before the deal was struck, I'm gathering, correct?
I mean, we knew we would be paying the bills from the end of the last one, but it was, if there was no master plan that we, that we said it, that we had, we knew that we were ending it in this way that we thought was bold and fun and would really, though, screw over the next writers.
Just in case you weren't hired back. Yeah. Well, it's pretty awesome. I mean, you guys must work really well with Jon Watts and the teams that you guys have. You came in. The first one, Homecoming, had gone through a kind of an odd process where some different teams tackled it, and then you guys kind of took over and did what you needed to do on it. And then you carried over to this one, the second one. Now the third one, is it pretty gratifying to have seen the whole process from 1 to 3?
It's incredibly gratifying, and on many levels, just on a personal level, that like writing features can be a lonely and tough business. And we found this creative team that they liked us and we liked them, and we worked together well and got to do this, exciting thing with them. 3 movies, we really became a family. So that has been great, and has been a great work experience and a great personal experience. And then on the creative level, of course, to be able to stick with this kid as his character develops, it would really been a shame to just do 1 or 2 and then introduce some huge change in his life at the end of the movie and then not get to do the next one and explore what that change is going to be. So it's been great on many levels. Yeah.
Where did the idea for getting Doctor Strange involved in this one come from? Was that Sony's people, Amy Pascal, or was that Marvel, you guys? Because each one, the first one had Iron Man, the second one had Nick Fury, and now this one has Doctor Strange. How was the decision made to bring in Doctor Strange in this one?
Well, yeah, I think part of the allure of this marriage between Sony and Marvel is being able to share these beloved universes and characters. I think there were only if we were going to bring a big Marvel character into this, there were only a few options really. And I think early on, because of their history and because of the themes that we were already thinking about turning back time and how do you put the genie back in the bottle, that it seemed like if there was It's a Wonderful Life, why can't, I wish I'd never been born. I wish people had never found out that I was Spider-Man. It just seemed like thematically we were going to that place. We kept on circling that idea, and it seemed then organic and natural that Doctor Strange would somehow be involved in this.
Yeah. Was there anybody else, any other character considered and before you landed on Doctor Strange?
As an ally character, I don't really remember going that far down any road.
Yeah.
Nothing like with Strange. Do you, Chris?
Right.
No, I mean, it was really.
It definitely seemed logical.
It also, that leads to all these different conversations, like with Marvel, about like where are all these other characters in the
right
Marvel, universe right now, and who's available, and what can we do? Because obviously there's a whole multiverse of Marvel movies going on. And
Right.
I just know early on, there was a logical and also a practical considerations that weighed heavily in the favor of, if someone from the Marvel universe is going to be involved in this creatively and practically, it really seemed like Doctor Strange was the one who was going to be involved.
Yeah. I mean, it's good that the team at Marvel didn't write Doctor Strange into some sort of wall that you couldn't get him out of to be in this, because if it, they probably would have been like, well, we already took him here. He's
well, I don't know if you remember this, before the pandemic, we were supposed to come out after Doctor Strange too.
Yeah.
So that affected things. So when we were developing this movie, we were in discussions with the creative team of Doctor Strange 2, finding out what happens in their movie in case Doctor Strange was being used in our movie. Where would he be in his separate Marvel journey? Mm-hmm. And then things got changed around because of the pandemic. We then became front loading that movie. So things just changed. Even though Doctor Strange was being talked in the mix for our movie, where he was on his own personal journey just changed.
Yeah. Well,
that was an adjustment we had to make, on the fly. Yeah,
that's good that things kind of worked out that way, because he does seem like, based on what I know about the film, and because I haven't seen it yet. I think there's this critic screening tomorrow night, but I tend to eschew critic screenings and just go on my own with an audience instead, because it just seems, well, I've had some bad experiences at press screenings where nobody seems like into anything. I remember going to one for Thor Ragnarok, and I was the only one in the theater laughing hysterically. So they can be a bit of a bummer audience.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah. Well, tell me about what you guys. I know there's a lot going on in this film. I know there's a lot that you guys want to still and to Marvel and Sony's credit has kept under lid. I mean, there's the big speculation: are Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire in it? Are they not? What other villains haven't been revealed yet? Blah blah blah. What was your intention on getting Peter from the end of Far From Home to the beginning of No Way Home? Where did you guys want to position him at the start of this movie?
Well, I mean, we knew that obviously the way that Far From Home ends, his whole world has been turned upside down. So we knew automatically that we were going to have this story engine, dealing with the repercussions of that and where would that take him. And so that's always nice to have, some strong element from the previous movie that drives things forward. In previous movies, Peter's had strong elements from other MCU movies that have really affected him, like the loss of Tony or something like that. And so This one, his world had been turned upside down. And so we knew that was the starting point, but where to take it from there? What was he going to do with that? How was he going to try to live this new life or fix it or change it? That was the big question. And that's what we spent, months early on talking about.
Yeah. It's got to be a lot of discussion to lock down the emotional as well as the action elements to make sure that you get the tone right. I would imagine, especially with these movies, because they're such big budgets. They're so reliant on needing to hit well with people. I have to imagine that that's a long process, just working out the broad strokes and then zeroing in on what happens in those.
Yeah, you have the big concept that is like, what if the multiverse breaks, and you get some of these characters from other Spider-Man movies in this movie, And that's a big fun idea, but we also then you have to balance that with, that's just the that's just the tail wagging the dog, unless this is Tom Holland's Peter Parker on a journey, dealing with this thing in a way that this character would deal with it, and it affects him in a certain way, and it's part of his larger story that this could be the third part of, and what really is going on. Like, you know, he keeps on trying to get things that he thinks he wants, and then realizes, wait, I don't want to be an Avenger. That's an empty, you know, I don't need Dad's approval. Wait, I don't need to fill the shoes of Iron Man. I just need to, you know, get that false idol out of my head, because even Tony wasn't the, you know, the Iron Man that everyone thinks he was. He was a normal human being who was doing his best, and all that kind of journey. So when the whole multiverse came crashing into our story room, like, wow, we can really do this. We really had to keep on trying to make sure that this was in service of a kid trying to get into college, which is like a really great Peter Parker story. It's a very relatable, ground level. This is a real kid who has a girlfriend and he has a best friend, and they all want this thing together, and they just want this very difficult thing that's difficult for a teenager. Meanwhile, you broke the universe, you know. You broke it because you are trying to have all these things that you want and trying to take care of everyone, and then where does that take you? And it takes him on a journey that forces a lot of tough choices he has to make, you know, tougher choices than he's ever had to make.
Yeah. You could definitely look at it, you know, the thing I was just kind of thinking about is the maturation of the character, you know, going from very young when he gets roped into the battle in Civil War to his, you know, figuring out his own thing, and then moving on from there and going through the grief and everything that he had to go through with Tony and all that. How big is just the general sense of a person that starts out very young and grows? That's got to be a huge part of getting to where you need to be, I would imagine. Either one.
Yeah. I mean, that's, at the end of the day, that's one of the things that makes us love Spider-Man so much. You know, everyone, is that he's just a kid. And so to be able to tell a story of a kid and watch him grow up, you know, regardless, you want your character to experience some kind of growth or change. But I mean, this is a guy who's literally going through these benchmarks of life, you know, going like sophomore to senior year of high school and moving on to college and all these things, you know. So you're literally watching a superhero grow and go through these very relatable things that so many of us have gone through or will go through, and that's one of the things that makes him such a fun character to write for.
But also, I think it's also having fun with the mythos of Peter Parker and being specific and true to the character that Marvel has allowed us to develop, because he's not Tobey Maguire, he's not Andrew Garfield. He's introduced in Civil War as, we don't know what the Uncle Ben of it all is. He never says with great power comes with great responsibility. We don't know if he's dealing with the death of Uncle Ben. We can assume maybe that's all these things, but we haven't seen those things. Those were sidestepped because maybe they didn't want to hear him anymore, or maybe things didn't go down the way you think they happened. We don't know. We do know, though, that, like, okay, in the comic books, he meets Tony Stark, but in the MCU, he's barely Spider-Man when he meets Tony Stark. So he now has this father figure who then sacrifices himself for the world, but is really drawn into that sacrifice because he looks at that picture of Peter Parker. And so here's, you know, him, this personal relationship. We're just really trying to stay true to what Marvel's been doing with, you know, this kid and his journey. And I will say that there are, you might not know everything about Peter Parker. There's a lot of different Peter Parkers out there, and that's the fun of the multiverse, is that there are different Peter Parkers out there, and each one, and this is the MCU's Peter Parker, and there are echoes of maybe some of the mythos that is true to all of them, and then maybe there are new things and different things, and this one is on a journey that is very specific to this character and the experiences in the context that he's had. It's not one-to-one, you know, and that's so much fun, is that the Peter Parker, there's not like, this is the rule book, you know. I mean, we're trying to just stay true to the character that we've been, you know, a part of helping develop, and hopefully there'll be some, when everyone sees this, we'll all go, oh, okay, this is a character who's on a very specific journey.
Yeah. Well, it had to be fun dealing with all these different possibilities, and whatever surprises are going to be heading our way when we see it, you know, in the theater. I have to imagine there's a bunch. Well, let me ask you this more directly. Are there any kind of big surprises that fans might not expect just based on the trailers that we don't know about? I mean, of course, there's a bunch of stuff not in the trailers, but is there anything that fans are going to just probably, I don't know, for lack of a better term, poop themselves over that you know are not expected? And I don't mean to ask you what they are. I'm just saying, tease us with the idea if there are some surprises that, you know, we really don't know about.
I hope the whole movie is not, I think there's more than just the trailer. Yeah. There's, you know, I mean, there's a lot of, hopefully there's a whole story with lots of twists and turns, and hopefully things that are unexpected. And I mean, that was my impression. I think people went in last night not knowing what to expect from the movie, because only seeing the trailers and talking to people, that's all they had seen. They were really enjoyed the surprises, and there were a lot of them, I think, for them.
Yeah, watching it with the crowd, and you know, a lot of people who had all kinds of ideas and speculation about the twists and turns, but the sense I got from the audience was that they were definitely surprised at a few points and enjoyed it.
How worried are you guys, based now that there has been a screening, and soon everyone in the world will have an opportunity to see it? How worried are you guys about too much being revealed online? I mean, I guess there's not much you can do about it, but you know, I guess you hope to have everybody be as surprised as everyone initially is.
Yeah, I mean, the best we can do is try not to ourselves spoil anything that we're not supposed to. Try to remember what we should say and what we shouldn't say. And yeah, a lot of it is out of our hands. And I just really hope that people are respectful with those secrets, because it really affects your viewing experience. You know, I mean, we've all seen those movies where something had been spoiled for us.
Yeah.
Or where you know, every once in a while there'll be one of those movies where the trailer just seems to tell the entire story, and you go see it and you're like, wow, they didn't hold anything back. And so I just sincerely hope, for everyone's sake, that those secrets are kept, because it just makes it so much more fun to see the movie. That's the way I want to see movies. I want to be surprised. I don't want to know a lot of stuff, you know?
Gotcha.
I mean, I think the bottom line is that's why everyone in America needs to see it opening weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
We strongly.
I'm not saying that just because, you know, we want a huge opening weekend. I just think I'm trying to generously tell people this is the best way to see it is with no spoilers. Go in, and the only way you can do that is Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, in my own life,
otherwise I wouldn't bother.
Right.
No, that's true though. That's a fair point. Like I'll do that myself a lot of times. If I don't want anything to be spoiled, I want to go see it as soon as I can, because I just every day that goes by is a day that, you know, some friend of mine or someone online, I'm going to read something and then something gets spoiled. So
yeah, you guys had to be elated when the when it opened for tickets to be sold, it pretty much shut down all of the theater sites and the ticket agencies. They went on sale after midnight, I think on a Sunday. And I remember just waking up randomly, looking at my phone, seeing that they were on sale, and I couldn't do anything. In the end, the ticket sales, advanced ticket sales, were compared to the last two Avengers films. I mean, that had to be extremely satisfying.
It is. I mean, it's satisfying on just a personal level to know that we were involved in something that people are excited about, but also just thinking about the greater context. I mean, man, we've all been through so much these last couple years, and the movie industry has obviously suffered tremendously. Theatrical, and people are worried about its very existence. And so, hopefully, this is an affirmation that people still love going to the movies. That experience that people like Chris and I love so much. I mean, that's why I do this. It was the magic I felt going to the movie theater when I was a kid and eating my popcorn and seeing movies. Like, that's the whole reason it steered my whole life. So it's exciting to see that people want to go to the movie theater.
Yeah. But it is disappointing that we still have so far to go with our cyber infrastructure that sites are getting shut down. We just gotta do better, guys.
If there's anything that should drive our technology, our desire to do better, it's so that we can all get our movie tickets as soon as we want them.
That's the most important thing.
Nothing is more important.
Yeah. Well, guys, we're approaching the end of the half hour. I just wanted to say thank you very much for taking the time. There are a bunch of more questions I had for you guys, but maybe the next time you guys have something, we'll be able to talk, and we can get into all the things that had nothing to do with Spider-Man necessarily. Because you guys have done a lot of stuff that I've going back to American Dad and Community that I've just absolutely loved. So it's really cool that you guys got to see this whole trilogy through, and hopefully, I know it's been teased that you get involved with whatever comes next for Spider-Man, because I think you guys are doing a great job so far.
Oh, that's so nice to hear. No, we've had a great time, and we're been real honored to be able to have such a fun time with these creative people and the actors, and just making some fun movies, and hopefully, we'll have more time to talk about it, because there's a lot of things that you can't really talk about because you haven't seen it yet, and
right. We don't want to spoil things either.
It really, I think you'll go in. I mean, sincerely, I think if you try to stay clear of spoilers before you go in, I think you'll just have a much more enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
And I do tell you, I mean, the only way to see this right now is in the theater, and it is such a joyful experience to go watch this in a theater.
Yeah, it was so fun to be in a theater last night and with all the people and everyone cheering, and it was great. It was just
not checking Twitter once.
Yeah.
Reminded me of being a kid and going to a big movie on a weekend night.
Yeah,
it was great. It was really great.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time today. It was a great talking with you, and I wish you the best of luck. And of course, I think the film's going to blow up, so I don't think you're having any worries there. And I'm eager to see what you guys come up with next.
Thank you very much.
Matt. Have a good one.
Thanks for having us.
Take care.
Nice talking to you.
Good talking to you too.
Hope you enjoy it.
I hope so too. I think I will.
Yeah. All right.
All right, guys. Take care. Bye.